Buongiorno a tutti. Good morning. So we are really honored to be here with you this day and to share with you what we are going to say about a really interesting topic, a fruitful exchange between Italy and the Middle East. It's a topic that we are describing an overview picture with you. I will not anticipate too much. I will just introduce the persons that are here with us. Cristina Stefanutti, Marketing Manager, Man Italy. Cristiano Canali, Perfumer, Man Italy, Man France, based in Milan. And Benjamin Bélizon, based in Paris, Perfumer at Man. And let's go for it. We will take also a few minutes after that for questions. So please, let's take this time for any question after. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us for Perfume Crossroads, Italy and Middle East, where sand become bridges. I would like to start by saying why this topic is so meaningful for us. First of all, because Italy and Middle East are among the main protagonists of the perfumery landscape. There always have been, and they still are. Secondly, because we are assisting to a growing perfumery culture dealing with a more conscious and a ritualized use of fragrances, and Italy and Middle East have something to say about this. And last but not least, because East and West are in a constant sensory dialogue where perfumes act like a perfect bridge. We will see all these aspects together today by starting with a glimpse of history to understand the origin of this sensory dialogue. The concept of Perfume Crossroads captures the idea that perfume has always functioned as a bridge between different cultures rather than an isolated expression of identity. And Italy and Middle East are among the most influential civilizations in, olfactively speaking, since the very beginning of perfumery history. Each of them with its own bold and signature olfactive language, and when put in dialogue, they do not cancel each other out. They amplify one another. So this presentation aims to frame perfumery as a cultural connector, an invisible yet powerful medium through which ideas, rituals, and desires have traveled for centuries. Let's think about this. Since the very ancient trade routes till arriving to the more modern luxury market, fragrances have always carried the stories across the borders long before brand marketing or even modern perfumery existed. And in this scenario, we have on one hand Italy with its heritage of elegance, proportion, craftsmanship, shaped by the Mediterranean light and the humanistic culture. And on the other hand, we have Middle East contributing with depth, intensity, a spiritual relationship with fragrances that goes beyond aesthetics. At the crossroads, these values amplify one another. So when putting Italy and Middle East as interlocutors rather than opposites, the stage is set for a new narrative that moves from history to creation and from creation to future innovations. And for this reason, when we say Perfume Crossroads, we are not talking about a trend or a marketing concept, but it's like a timeless space where perfumes act like bridges between different territories, different countries, different identities. Ingredients are key. They have an inner power. If we think about it, back in time there were money of exchange. And long before the birth of modern perfumery, ingredients themselves were ambassadors of different culture. And thanks to the ancient trade routes like the Silky Road, ingredients like woods, resin, citruses, fruits, spices, traveled from Far Asia to the European commercial hubs, for example, Venice, and then from Venice, they moved freely to the Gulf area. And what's happening today? That this exchange of ingredients is still happening for ingredients like wood. an iconic ingredient for Middle East perfumery, for Middle Eastern region, that is increasingly conquering, entering the European and Italian perfumery landscapes. We will see later with our perfumer how this iconic ingredient that for so long has been considered just a very niche Middle Eastern note is now reinterpreted and adapted to meet the Western taste. Let's stay a bit more on ingredients and think about the Italian ports. Back in time, Venice, Genoa, Amalfi, and Palermo weren't just commercial hubs. They were cultural laboratories where foreign ingredients were absorbed, reinterpreted, and integrated into local tradition. And this exchange movement of material is the reason why certain notes feel emotionally familiar for different countries, different territories, despite being used in different ways. There's another interesting aspect that I would like to tell you. Italy offers a pretty nice example of how the Arab culture influenced the European and Italian sensory identity, and how on the way back Italian creativity and craftsmanship in a way shaped some of the Arab tradition. Let's see some example. Citruses. All those citruses that are worldwide known as an Italian excellence, we need to thank the Arab because it's thanks to their agricultural technique, their expertise in crossbreeding and grafting that today we have citruses like bergamot, bitter orange, or lemon that became, in a way, pillar in our olfactive DNA. And what's happening today? That this exchange is still happening because Middle Eastern perfumery is looking more and more to our citruses, to the Italian citruses. They're looking for a new freshness, a new materic and textured freshness thanks to these citruses. And if we think about it, it's quite new if we think about the traditional olfactive construction of that perfumery. But also, we share other tradition. Italy and Middle East share other tradition. For example, the scented garden. Think of those beautiful gardens in shade and light, in those amazing villas with fountains, water, flowers, and aromatics everywhere. Both the territories share this, the tradition of the scented water. Flowery scented water or citrusy scented water is something that we have in common. Either it is for a personal care use or for a culinary purpose. And as I was mentioning before, on the way back, Italian creativity shaped in a way some Arab tradition. Think, for example, at the Venetian glass blowing mastery that inspired the creation of lamps in palaces and mosques, or think of the decorated mirror, the beautiful decorated mirrors that became luxury objects in the Ottoman courts. Or also think about precious fabrics. I have a question for you about fabrics. Do you know why patchouli is always associated with something luxury and refined? It's because of fabric, because back in time, when from far Asia, precious silk and precious fabric were traded to Europe, they were wrapped in paper together with some patchouli leaves to prevent the fabric to be damaged by bugs. So imagine when I arrived in Europe during the unboxing, the first sensory gesture was the smell of patchouli. So we got from Asia this iconic ingredient, patchouli. We got the silk yarn, and then when I arrived in Italy, thanks to the expertise of our textile artisans, they became beautiful, silky fabrics that were traded then in the Middle East. And again, we could mention also our mastery in engraving that influenced the jewelry of the Persian court. And all these exchanges, these mutual exchanges, explain why, for example, in perfumery terms, Italy loves contrast, freshness, but also subtle depth and intensity, and why certain middle notes are so familiar within Italian composition. Think, for example, about the leather. The leather note is so appreciated by the Middle Eastern market, but if we think about it, we have an amazing and iconic and unique Tuscan leather smell that is quite, it's super recognizable, it's super distinctive. And again, it can be interpreted in a more subtle way or in a darker way, as in some Middle Eastern creation. Or also think about spices. We integrated a lot of spices coming from the Middle East in our culinary tradition, but also olfactory tradition. So all this cultural sensory legacy is something that helps us explain this continuous exchange, this continuous dialogue between two very distant territories. But we have to add another little piece to the puzzle, that is the sense of collective unconscious, which is a pretty interesting concept that explains that all the olfactive stimuli we're exposed to when we are little kids influence what we like or dislike when we are adults. And, unexpectedly, Italy and Middle East have some common childhood memories that influence what they prefer when they are adult. Let's see some. So, starting with the first picture, for the Italians here in the room, I bet that everyone knows by heart the smell of this talc powder that is used for baby skin. It, for Italian, is home, it's reassuring, it's a very cocooning note that we like so much that we look for these notes when we are adult in our daily use products. Either it is eau de parfum or a product for our laundry or for body care. And, surprise or not, Middle East consumers have the same childhood memory with another product with the same white masculine notes. Then citruses, but also orange flowers. If we think about orange blossom flavors, is something so iconic for Italian, used for amazing desserts in the south of Italy. And this same scent, the orange flower, is iconic for Middle East for a body care product. Rosy notes, again, another very iconic product for Italian. We can say the brand just smelling it without knowing what we are smelling, because it's deeply rooted in our olfactive DNA. And in Middle East, they have the same rose water tradition. Coffee note, despite being slightly different maybe in terms of flavor, but we share the same ritual, an indulgent moment for ourselves or for welcoming guests. And then the indulgent notes of the baked delight. Think about honey. In the south of Italy, in Naples, we have this iconic dessert, which is truffoli, which is pastry-infused glaze with honey. And in the Middle East, they have amazing pastry infused with honey syrupy. So keep all these things in mind and get ready to enter, to deep dive a bit what's going on in perfumery terms with specific and iconic olfactive direction. For this part, I will need the help of our perfumer. So together with us, we have Cristiano Canali, representing the Italian touch. Here we have a kind of ID card to briefly profile him to you. His particular trait, fusionist of creativity and precision, and its olfactory signature, meticulous frameworks that give rise to unusual ingredients and unexpected accords. And we have also Benjamin Bélizon, that he spent many years working in the Middle East region, so he's the one here to explain us that peculiarities of that market, so to give us the Middle Eastern flair. His particular trait is passionate, sensitive, and optimistic, and his olfactory signature, colorful and straight to the point, short formulas with strong contrast. So, let's start from the rose. The rose, as we saw before, it's something that both Italy and Middle East share as a very rooted memory in our olfactive DNA. And it's interesting to see how this queen of flowers is interpreted in many different but not so different ways between the two regions.
Hello. Yes, so the rose for sure key ingredients for Italian perfumery. We have been exposed to this flower since since long time, and for sure we have this connection which is related to the rose water, for sure. So we have the tendency to appreciate more a crispy, watery rose, and in the years we see a strong connotation with musky notes or part of cheaper fragrances, which is working very well in Italy. But throughout times, of course, it has become a little bit more constructed and sophisticated. And it's most of the time one of the few soliflora or flora by themselves which is tolerated by the Italian market.
Yes, so the rose, it's originally from the Middle East. It's the queen flower from Persia. We find also the production in Damas, in Syria. So the region has always used the flower either through distillation process, which we obtain the essential oil. It's a very expensive material, but we also use kind of hydrolat, so it's more, as you mentioned in Italy, a decoction in water. So for so many years, the rose has this power in the region that you can blend it with all kind of counterblocks. Generally, we can use it with musk, with wood, with fruits, and today we have this kind of fragrances which are working so well because it's still a big rose, modern rose, but we have either musky or more gustative aspect, which makes something more modern as the previous one, which was maybe more wood directly, more animalic.
And just to mention, in a way of modernizing rose, we in Man we have discovered this new variety of rose, which is specific from Moldavia, and it has a different odor profile compared to the classic Damascena that is giving us a competitive advantage with such a key ingredient for the market.
Then let's move to musk, as we saw it's another key olfactive memories for both the region. And musk, it's really interesting because it can be explored in a very clean and reassuring way, or on the other hand, in a very warm, sensual and carnal approach.
Yes, again, here we have an unconscious memory, which is these clouds of powder that each baby, Italian baby, has been dipped into since the childhood. And of course, this comfort smell of powderiness together with long-lastingness is what gave the musk such a key role in the Italian perfumery industry. We have, for sure, the two great examples that we are showing here. They can be one of the Narciso Rodriguez, which is, of course, more a cocktail of a mask than a single mask that is taking over. And they have this synergetic approach. So the more different masks you use, more opulence and more volume you can get from this specific note. And here in this case, it has been a good contrast also with the floral note. So it's a good combination of floralcy and muskiness. Of course, musk gives a long ciliage. And so it's easier for people to trace you behind you. And it's getting compliments from a fragrance is always an added value. And another great example for a mask that goes more a little bit into the clean, but I would also say carnal in this way. The great work from Lorenzo Villoresi, Tentenege, it became an icon in the market. And the powderiness together with a touch of bitterness, I think it gives the specific twist to make it liked for so many people.
So originally from Tibet, the animal musk is not so used nowadays, even in the region. So now we have, let's say, 4 kinds of different musk that is applied directly on the skin, which are maybe the clean or floral musk that we have from Ajmal, something very transparent. We have also this body musk from Abdul Samad, which is sometimes maybe the more powdery one. Teint de Neige is also doing super well with this kind of aldehydic. So we see already 3 different angles, at least, that you can work with the musk. But what is also interesting, and it has always been used as a layering process in the Middle East. So it's something that you apply directly. So it's like very thick. You apply it on your skin, and after you can fragrance yourself. So that's also not funny, but people over there, they know already how to masterize the art of making perfume by themselves, using musk as a base.
Then we have white flowers, another quite iconic direction. When we say white flowers, we think about jasmine, tuberose, and orange flower. And again, it's interesting to see the peculiarities and the differences between the two different interpretations.
Yes, in Italy especially, we tend to appreciate more bouquet of flowers. Most of the time we have tuberose, jasmines, and orange flowers, blossoms. And to create a unique and a kind of a narcotic kind of effect. So the opulence is needed for the white flowers. In the recent examples, we can see some fruitiness that is jumping in to give a little bit more fun to the top notes and the heart notes especially. But again, performance is a key element for the Italian market. So ambery notes, like the one we see from the D&G, the Velvet Desire, is giving a depth that it's very much welcomed from the Italian market. Also in Mana we have a new extraction that is called the E-Pure Jungle Essence, with which we are able to make a gentle extraction. And we have a really true to nature odor profile, which is extremely useful for a perfumer palette.
So again, in the Middle East, what we have and what also speaks in Italy, it's as we mentioned, the opulence. So the boom, the volume that it's brought with this white flower, and something quite nice also. It's the white flowers, mainly if we talk about jasmine or orange blossom, are originally from the region. So people, they know definitely what does it smell, how it is, and how to use it. So it's mainly something very strong, bold. But nowadays, what we saw in the market, it's how to make something very blooming, very transparent as well, in order to add some modernity. So this is sometimes how we struggle in terms of construction of fragrances, but it's quite interesting. And I wanted also to add that white flowers are unisex, mainly feminine, but over there in Dubai or in Saudi, we can use it mainly for men. In addition with more woody construction or cashmeran, for instance.
Vanilla, timeless and genderless addiction, appreciated worldwide everywhere, but every target group in every product category. And it's amazing how vanilla can be played in a more joyful and gustative addictive way, or on the other hand, in a darker and more sensual approach.
Yes, how to talk more about vanilla. Every year there is more and more fragrance coming out with overdose of vanilla. And Italy has been a great market for vanillas. Again, my personal feeling is that it gives this ciliage in the back that is so much loved by Italians. And we have, as Cristina said, many ways for interpreting vanilla. A lot is difficult for a perfumer to find new ways of expressing a vanilla because it has been played in so many ways. But the addictive gourmand vanilla is for sure one of the best for Italians. The example of Bianco Latte by Giardini di Toscana for sure is a clear example of it. And we have more than an overdose of vanilla, and the structure is pretty much bold. But we see a rising trend of musky and mineral vanillas, like the vanilla powder from Matière Première, in which we see a verticality of vanilla that is put in contrast with some mineral and saltiness. And for a more adult or For a more adult target, we have the more constructed vanillas, like the Vanilla Antique by Byredo or the Bobby Cat by Yves Saint Laurent, in which you have some more richness, more ambery, more spicy. So it's a very versatile ingredient.
Yeah, and unless than in Italy, yeah, Bianco Latte, this kind of product, it's kind of ovni also in the Middle East. It's very liked, but most of the time, we didn't see so much combination of vanilla and gourmand because over there it was maybe too gustative or too heavy. But this product has the ability to be liked as well in the Middle East. And yeah, so what do we do with vanilla mainly over there? It's what you blend with the vanilla, either with a wood or with more boozy notes. This baby cat has this, you know, this spicy, very insensy that remind a little bit of bahur, which are the smoke that you do to receive the people in your house. So yeah, it's very specific and super liked in the region. So you can even try to make something more sweet or more powdery with the Vanille Planifloria that is working super well as well. So it's really something that you can go in a lot of direction, unless not so animalic. Otherwise, we have an issue still over there. But mainly, it's super well appreciated.
Yes.
Then woods. If we think about woods, it's amazing the variety of woody notes, and woods is so versatile because it can be really interpreted creatively in very different ways.
Yes, woods, as you said, we have many different odor profiles. Patchouli, as you mentioned before, it's, even if its leaves is considered a wood. But I would say that for Italy, what we're looking for mostly is a contrast. And I think the Adventus by Creed is the greatest example, so with this blooming bergamot top note, the fougere structure, and then there is this woody, ambery bottom notes is working very well. It has been a global success. Another way of playing woods for us is more consensual and warm, like the Santal 33 by Le Labo. It has a touch of aromatic given by some violet leaves molecules that make it a little bit more fun and less static in the bottom. But of course, also the ambery part of the Margiela, for example, we brought by the fireplace is something that gives some dynamics to the bottom notes of woody fragrance.
Yeah, so for you it's like dynamics in the bottom, this kind of smoky. But I think for Middle Eastern, which is very important, it's the way they use bahur for many, many years, which is kind of, yeah, as I mentioned, you smoke like either woods or a mixture of your own fragrances. So you make it at home to welcome people, meaning that in your home, you have always something kind of burny, this kind of instancy smell. So I think when we used to play with woods and smoky woods in the Middle East, it's always working super well. So By the Fireplace is a good example. Black Afghano, super smoky. Teroni, even more. So, and where we are very close as well is for Aventus, because this contrast is also very well appreciated. Yeah. Santal 33, again, I think, as Chris mentioned, the fact that the proximity of the ingredient, like sandalwood, growing in India, people know so much and have this liking very strong for this woody, creamy material, and the fragrances very well executed.
Then leather, as we mentioned before, is a note appreciated by Italian construction because it gives this contrast with light and freshness on top, and it's of course appreciated by Middle Eastern market because of its depth and intensity.
Yes, for the Italian market, leather is a little bit tricky ingredient. So we are used to this smell of leathers coming mostly from new cars and nice leather bags or leathery goods in general. And of course, Tuscany has been a great basin for for leather for throughout the globe. But so it's not about a dark leather that we are accustomed more, but it's more about like a suede effect, something more a little gentle, less rough. And for me, the Tuscan leather by Tom Ford is a great example. It's true that it has a touch of smokiness on the bottom, but again, the contrast there, it has been super well played, and the fragrance is speaking by itself. And but then if you want something more faceted or again mixed with the other woods or other ingredients, for sure the Velvet Desert Oud is a great example. Also because there is many ways of playing the leathery note, but or you play maybe with the cade or the birch tar effect, which is very smoky, smelling almost like a ashtray. Or you play with the tobacco notes, which of course it has this intrinsic smoky note, but it's always played in a smoother way with some honey touches, and it's very interesting to play around. And for the Middle East?
For the Middle East, my guess is that horse riding and camel riding are very well appreciated for many, many years over there. So they have this liking of horse riding, of the smell of saddles, you know, this kind of leathery, very brutal almost. And it's working super well. You know, when we work for Middle East market, we always use this kind of isobutylquinoline, this kind of very safraline, this kind of very leathery, brutal effect. Phenolic. Even in small touch, huh?
Almost phenolic.
Almost phenolic, but we have it always, because yes, it's still in the mind that people likes it, and very strong, very diffusive as well. So yeah, Maidan, for instance, it's a good example of something very appreciated over there. Falcon leather, also this kind of leather note mixing with saffron, very interesting and very appreciated, yeah.
Then amberwood, what to say about amberwood? They are at the foundation of this mutual exchanging and dialogue between East and West. And it's amazing how this note can be interpreted in a very fresh, airy or mineral facet, or on the other hand, in a very addictive, dark and bold one.
Yes, amberwood is, I think it's a natural evolution for the market, which is demanding performance, increasing performance more and more. And of course, these notes help the projection of the fragrance and the long lastingness. So a molecule we're getting more and more used, actually exposed. And there are two big families of amber woods. One, it goes more into the smooth ambers, in which you can find the Ambrox or the Orcanox, or what used to be the Caranal. And the sharp amber woods is what is also having a strong impact in the top notes and gives a lot of verticality to the fragrance. Here, I think two great examples for the Italian market has been the Mega Mare from Orto Parisi, in which there is an overdose of these ambery notes, together with mineral notes or sea notes, ozonic notes that make it like a bomb, because it's very strong, super projecting. But as Cristina was saying, we also have a strong liking for notes, amber woods notes, which are put in contrast with addictive notes like the Veltol, and together with the mossy notes, it's make the great success of the Baccarat Rouge, that it has been a global top seller for many, many years, and it still is. And again, I think the Sillage play a very good role for the success of this fragrance.
Yeah, in the Middle East, yes, it's one of the key marker of liking over there is the diffusion and the strength. So 20 years ago, 30 years ago, some raw material like amberwood and very dry amberwood were created and introduced in small and after very big quantity. So Herba Pura, for instance, is one of the key fragrance introducing those kind of amberwood and key ingredient. How it has been masterized is because it's used in contrast with some fruity and very diffusive ingredients. So you have the ability to have something very strong, but you hide this kind of very harsh and artificial diffusion of the amberwood with some fruits. So that's why it clicked so much in the region. So Mega Mare is doing almost the same direction, but in contrast, you have the ozonic, and it's always a bloom, and very good bloom. So it's always the question on amberwood, what you will mix with to have this amazing contrast and to hide a little bit this dryness on top. So we have very good example here with Herbapura, Mega Mare, amberwood from Ajmal as well, and it's always a success most of the time.
And last but not least, oud, these iconic ingredients from Middle East that actually, if you think about oud, origins from mainly Laos or India, but again, it's an example of how ingredients travel through different territories. It became an iconic ingredient for Middle East, but it's now conquering the heart of Western consumers as well.
Yeah, so the oud originally, yes, exactly, from Laos, from India, from Philippines, Vietnam, travel through the Middle East, through the Silk Roads and the Spicy Roads. And people used to know it perfectly and use it also themselves to blend in their own way. So oud is very amazing ingredient because if you want to describe it, you can use between, almost 10 qualificatives, such as woody, animalic, spicy, balsamic, leathery. There is so many facets in this ingredient. But there is something quite very strong animalic as well. So in the Middle East, it was like and used, and they know it perfectly, so perfect. But how to use it also more globally, maybe to reduce a little bit this cursor of animalic effect and switch and plug it with something, a huge contrast, such as passion fruit or mango, because also the oud has this kind of fruity and a terpenic effect, which is very similar to mango, so it's very well done to have this kind of blend. We can also blend it with mineral notes, such as or greatness, rose, powdery, with oud 13 musk from Francis Kurjan. So now it's recognizable as very key ingredient also globally. Huh?
Yeah, but for us it has been an obscure and mysterious ingredient for many, many years. The first fragrance that came to the market with this ingredient was the M7 by Yves Saint Laurent, and everybody was like, what is this? It was a little bit mythical ingredient. And then, of course, we have been accustomed more and more. We have been exposed more and more to these ingredients. As Benjamin said, there are several facets and several countries. Each of them have a specific quality. And as you were saying, I think the cheesy animalic part on top, it's what it's not really appealing to the European market. This is why we are moving, or we have been moving, to a more occidentalized oud, in which a combination of mostly patchouli and cypriol notes together with some other key ingredients, you can reconstruct and have this kind of feeling, but in a more smooth way without the harsh top note that I personally like, but not, it's difficult to position them in a popular fragrance. And a great example for this, I think for me, is the Oud Satin by Francis Kurjan. It's a very consensual fragrance, very long-lasting, and the projection is great, and it has this kind of mysterious feeling behind the smell that makes it always very attractive.
So just a quick recap of what we have seen so far. This idea of perfume crossroads started many centuries ago with the traveling of ingredients. We have seen how the creativity and craftsmanship of Italy influenced in a way the Arab culture. We saw that we have some shared childhood memories, and we have just seen with our perfumer that perfumery today is talking about a new olfactory grammar, hybrid, sophisticated in evolution that can build invisible bridges between words that seems far apart. And now, get ready to smell something that our perfumer created for this special occasion. Actually, the intention is to prove that a co-creation acts as a multiplier and amplifier of fragrances so that the different identities do not dilute. And so, we're going to smell a creation, an accord that the two perfumers work together hand in hand, creating something that can please both the taste. So I will let the word to the perfumers to explain you.
Yes, we work out together a common base that could embrace both the taste of Italian and Middle Eastern type of fragrances. So it's mostly bottom notes, I would say. And there is this captive ingredient which is called Santa Manol from us that it gives like a creamy sandalwood touch, but extremely persistent. I like it a lot. Together with the patchouli and a mix of woody embers notes. And then each of us, and then each of us try to play a direction or an interpretation out of this common accord. But Benjamin, for sure, you want to add something on the base?
No, I'm good. I think we play in this direction. So very woody, very creamy. So it's kind of sandalwood with some cedar, something which is very appealing. A touch also of something kind of sparkling.
Yes, but it has been a great exercise to share these inputs from the two corners of the world and coming out with the fragrance, common fragrance together.
Then each of the perfumers, starting from that first creation that you smelled, work to personalize in a more Italian way on one side. The fragrance that you're smelling now is by Cristiano, and the ones that will arrive later is the personalization by Benjamin. As we see, we named it with the geographical coordinates, so Crossroads plus the geographical coordinates of Italy, specifically Milan, since we are here today.
Yes, so for me the task, the biggest task was to give airiness on the top notes, or to construct some top notes. And we have beautiful mandarin ingredients in Italy, and I try to build up this sparkling peach accord that is screaming Bellini, but we cannot say it. And within the woody notes on the common base, we had a touch of vetiver, and I tried to exploit it in a sophisticated way, in which was dancing together with the peach, which again we have a natural extract from man, which is gorgeous, juicy, and at the same time it has this velvety touch that I like it a lot. And again, the brightness and the sparkles from the mandarin on top to give some burst since the top notes.
And now let's smell together the creation by Benjamin. So again, it started from the common creation that he did with the Cristiano, personalizing it in a more Middle Eastern way.
So the idea here was to try to find the right balance and the right contrast with this kind of mysterious woody blend. So my idea wants to go with something very sparkling and very fresh, but also with some mineral ingredient such as sea salt accord in the heart. So mainly the top note is composed of a ginger, very sparkling and very luminous, a bunch of citrus bergamot as well on top note. And to make the link between this top note, this spicy, cold spicy, I use this kind of cistus, which has the ability to play as well on top with balsamic effect almost, but also have this kind of very leathery base note impact. So I think I like this kind of balance, very contrasted and well balanced as well.
I like the freshness you give.
So can we say that the future of perfumery lives at the crossroads? Maybe yes, or undoubtedly yes, because as we have seen so far, the crossroads is a mindset, it's not a trend, it's a new cultural approach to perfumery. And thanks to this new approach, heritage and tradition can gain relevance when reinterpreted. We have seen that with this constant mutual exchange and dialogue, different countries can evolve together while preserving their identity. And then perfume becomes really a platform for expression, for education, and dialogue. So thank you, everyone, for being with us. I don't know if you have any questions.
I think that we have maybe a few minutes if someone has questions about what we have seen.
Now or never.
No questions.
Thank you very much again. I think that what we have here, it's a great example of what we have been seeing about the bridge between the two regions. For me, it's interesting to smell the common base that you have done. There is an interesting woody, slightly smoky part that remains the smoky part in both creations, the Italian and then also in the Middle East part, but in different ways. So you see how translation of a common point, it's a fruitful exchange and create new things. Thanks again for all. Thanks to the team, and take in touch. Thanks.